Oh, well, hi there.
Hello.
Hello.
Holla.
It's the
Holla.
best friend.
Yes. Welcome. I was almost going to say getting juicy. Oh my gosh.
Pardon my what?
Pardon my, Yeah, that's our I was going to say old podcast name. We'll say that was our original podcast name. Welcome to Pardon My Mind. Wow, your lights are having a light show right now behind you.
Too much?
A little bit.
Make sure that we don't have any visual
Yeah, no,
overstimulation
I'm
here.
just like, wow, they're beautiful, but
Let me
it's definitely
find something that's a little bit more subtle. How about that?
they're beautiful, but I love it.
Okay,
Love
great.
it.
That
Love
is
it.
monochrome mint.
I love it. Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you so much. Just
Um,
like you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Okay,
you're so
darling,
welcome. You
darling,
shouldn't
darling.
have.
It
It
matches
matches
your
my kombucha
drink. I
bottle.
know. Look at that. So let's get right into it, people.
Mm-hmm.
After, we just, you know, talk about everything about our lighting,
Yes.
about, we're that real and raw. We have the wonderful Tobias Picker on our show today.
Yes, we do.
So Tobias actually is a composer, he's a pianist, he's a conductor. I know he's from New York, New York City proper, I believe, but I'm not sure where he's living currently. He could be in Boston, I think.
Boston.
On all the reason why I say that is because he has a new opera called Awakenings. And Awakenings, if you at all are a movie buff or you enjoy reading, you might actually recognize that name. So Awakenings, which the movie actually from 1990, I watched it last night. So the movie Awakenings, I just didn't have time to read the book. Right. I'd love to read Oliver Sacks's book because that's what the movie was based on. It was based on Oliver Sacks's not just book, but really a memoir about his experience in the late 60s, I believe. He is or was a doctor, a neurologist. And I really hope I don't butcher this, and I hope Tobias can clarify these things for me. But somebody that actually discovered a unfortunately short-term treatment. I don't want to ruin the movie or the book for you, but I'm going to. It's been a long time since they came out, but developed a short-term treatment or discovered there was a treatment that was short-term for an illness that was caused early in the 1920s. There was an epidemic of something called the sleeping sickness. That was it was coined the sleeping sickness. The technical term for it, I can't recall. But basically pretty much puts you in a catatonic state, for a lack of better terms. And this treatment that he had, and the film talks about it too, allowed the person to pretty much essentially come back to life. And that's where the awakening title comes from. But unfortunately wasn't a long-term treatment or a long-term cure, I should say. Sure. So opera based on that unbelievable book. I had a lot of tears last night from watching the movie again. I hadn't seen it in years. Beautiful, beautiful, not just a story, but a real life thing that happened. And Tobias and Oliver actually were friends. So that's what's so fascinating to me. I don't know how they met. That's how I'd like to know that too. So back to Tobias, he and Oliver Sacks were friends. They knew each other very well. I know that Dr. Sacks helped Tobias with some things that he was struggling with. And I hope that he's willing to talk about those things because, Hero and I aren't necessarily well-versed in opera at all. No. But we are well-versed in mental health. And I know that, I feel like a lot of the personal life of Tobias, he does talk about his own struggles with certain things with mental health, and hope we can dive into some of that. But anyway, this opera is brand new and it's being premiered in Boston, which is why I said Boston.
Right.
Looks like on the 25th of February of this month. So we hope to get this episode out before then. And yeah, premiere, really, really exciting stuff. And I just really look forward to talking to Tobias. He's also Jewish.
Yes, he is.
So there's that commonality. And just seems like a very fascinating and very gifted individual. So
Yay.
we're just speaking with Tobias. Yeah, it should be popping on any moment and coming to us 3 hours ahead of our time. So we're already recording at like 6:45. Yeah, so he's popping on at like almost 10 p.m. We can't thank our guests enough who do this for us.
Yeah, totally. It's such a gift.
Come from different time zones, right?
Right. Such a gift.
I know. So are you familiar with, I mean, I know, and I'm curious, I actually would be curious to know, I know, unfortunately, Oliver Sacks is not with us anymore in this realm, but I wonder if he was happy with the movie adaptation. I'm not sure. Like, that's something that's not really, doesn't have to be relevant to what we're talking with Tobias about, but it's just such a great movie. And like I said, I watched it last night for the second time probably ever. And, it gets you right in the feels.
I love getting in the feels.
Right in the feels. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is a huge bottle.
I could say
good. It's as big as your head. I know. It literally looks like it's as big as your head. Is that just an illusion? Okay, no. Sorry, Tobias. Sorry, people that watch this back, and this is us, not the TV show. This is us. Sometimes that's
the subtle expression.
It is the subtle. I know, it's true. I mean,
on the scale of 1 to 10 for me, that's like a 0.5.
And I know, but I think that's kind of, life. We have some of these more serious or somber topics, but hey, you gotta mix in the giggles with the.
You gotta bring some humor into it.
Yeah,
you gotta
I was gonna say the giggles with the guilt.
I love that. You got to bring in the absurdity. You got to bring in, folks who are watching who might not know who the hell I am. I am the absurdity of everything and take full pride in it. You can throw tomatoes, you can throw matzah at me, whatever you want, but I will say
matzah
it for
meal
you.
Or matzah hard matzah.
Whatever resonates with you in that whole category of cardboard and unleavened bread. But Kathy Griffin always would say, I'll say it for you. And that is something I live by. I will say what others will not say, however it comes out, for better.
True. And I'll just be there with the facial expressions, the reactions.
I know. I think we have enough for a second video of that now. It's
probably another reel of my reactions to you.
Because Rachel has all the time on her hands to do that.
Yeah. Are you right? Yeah, no. But how are you doing? Because last time we recorded, not all he was doing, but he's doing a lot of yawning. Are you? How are you feeling?
Well,
You seem like
I'm tripping.
You're tripping?
I'm tripping in the sense of not what that word means, but
I'm like,
explaining
I don't think you've ever had a trip in your life.
Well, I definitely had a trip before. Yeah, not in that sense. Unless if I was on a float session or extremely caffeinated, which I have been once. And I was like, is this what it's like to be buzzed? But
you're so cute.
I try. Thanks.
Okay, but why? Sorry, back to why do you use that term, tripping?
Oh, no. I said it. I know what it actually does mean, but I said it because I was saying to Rachel before I hopped on that I was setting up. I just got home from work and I tripped over the wire that connects my ring light from the power outlet. And so as I'm getting it set up, I'm so careful not to trip over. Sure enough, I trip over the wire. My entire wall socket adapter comes out, everything unplugs. I'm like, God damn. So now I've got this lovely halo around my face that's supposed to go up and cover my ring light right here, but it actually looks really good.
Yeah, the light's still on.
Light's still on.
Light still works. So you're just gonna blind yourself.
It doesn't actually feel that bad because it's actually facing directly at the wall instead of down toward me, which normally it does. So it's we're fine.
Okay.
We're chilling.
Okay.
We're chilling, as my friend says. We're chilling.
That's funny. Well, I'm happy that you didn't hurt yourself because he texts me seconds before he pops on. I just tripped over a wire and fell. And I was like, are you okay? But then I was expecting, this is, what we perceive. Like I was expecting you to be like that, but you're like, so that's great.
I didn't care about myself. I was like, my ring light better be working. And thankfully it is. Thankfully it is working, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to take some memorabilia, you can take the one and only fresh ring light from all the recordings in the last 2.5 years.
We'll
owned
sell
by
that
me.
on eBay. Yeah.
I kind of look like that cat in the clock.
Oh my God, that is funny. I don't think, where is that from? That's from the 80s, I think.
It's from
And
way back
originally.
in time. Yeah.
Way back
that's
in time.
exactly what it reminded
Way
me
back in time, folks. Way back to the 80s.
Yeah,
you know, where
back in
Hero was not alive.
No, and Rachel was my age.
Oh, that's funny, Hero. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Tobias.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you doing?
Very well.
Very
How are you
good.
doing?
Thank
Great
you.
to have you.
You've got Biden in the background there, I think.
Oh, should I turn that off? Is that going to be just?
It's okay. You can keep it on.
No, it's just funny because like I can tell it's funny because I can't actually, his face isn't in the camera. It doesn't look totally precise, but all I can see is a white face and a blue, blue blazer.
He's giving a very good speech.
Oh, see, us Canadians. I didn't know.
Oh, you're Canadian.
We are Canadian. Yeah, exactly. And just so you know, because we like to tell our guests this right off the bat, we are recording right away. We kind of roll like that. We're pretty raw and natural. So I just thought I'd let you know. So, be careful with what you say at this point.
Okay. Maybe I should turn that off because it's distracting.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there you go. Yeah, perfect.
So convenient.
Very convenient.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we have to say, because we said before you popped on that we are just so grateful that you're joining us from your time zone, because I know it's almost 10 o'clock at night where you are, if I'm correct.
Where are you on the West Coast?
West Coast.
We're in British
Vancouver,
Columbia, Canada.
yeah.
Vancouver and Vernon.
Okay.
So, yeah, Pacific Standard Time.
And tell me a little bit about your podcast.
Oh, okay. Hero, take it away. I'm putting him in the spotlight. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Of course. So our podcast is really focused on sincere, candid, and down-to-earth conversations that regard mental health and everything in between of lifestyle, depending on our guests and their comfort level, gender and sexuality, and lifestyle culture between those two intersections of pop culture and media and professional and personal lifestyles. And so really allowing our guests to show up authentically as they are and to know that there's no agenda, there's no ulterior motive other than learning about who they are and what they wish to share about themselves in ways they might not have a chance to in other channels of media that might be more curated or more directed.
That says a lot. I'm just looking for. Excuse me 1 second.
No problem. All good. Wow, that plant looks like it's growing sideways.
Yeah, it does.
It's not real.
Oh, the plant's not real?
No, I'm just visiting Boston while we rehearse.
Okay, that's what I was.
Boston. I live in New York, so.
Okay, so that just answered my question. I was wondering before, because I know that you hail from New York, but I wasn't sure if you were living in Boston now. But it's because the premiere.
I'm staying there through the rehearsal process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, just to echo a little bit what Hero was saying, it's interesting because originally our podcast name was Getting Juicy, like a Jew, Jew, because we're both Jewish as well. So we were actually having a lot of.
So am I.
Yeah, I know. And we know that.
How do you know that?
We haven't
made a big deal out of it, but have I? I don't know.
No, do you know why? It's because the person who put us in contact with each other, April, actually, because she knew about our backgrounds, and I think she actually might have said something. So that was the only, because it's just to have that connection perhaps. But we realized, we're here when I come from, we've dealt with our entire adult lives with a lot of mental health challenges, let's just put it that way. And so we like to have guests on who I guess have powered through their challenges and created something like you've created with your life. been able to speak to people through such a clear, beautiful lens. So, I just, it's interesting because actually last night I actually rewatched the movie Awakenings because I haven't read the book yet, but I rewatched the movie and just, it completely brought me to tears again. How close is the memoir of
the opera?
Right? Yeah. Well, I wish I was lived
People were in
closer.
tears at the end.
Oh, yeah. So with that being
The singers are in tears at the end.
oh my gosh. Oh my
It's
gosh.
very moving,
Yeah, absolutely. So how close is well, first of all, how close would you say the adaptation of the book into the movie was? Or even through, because I know you were friends with Oliver as well, or what he thought.
He approved of the script. He liked adaptation. He liked others to adapt his work into different art forms and media. So he was respectful of their choices. He disagreed with one choice that they made so strenuously that they abided by his wishes in one case. But you see, they adapted a book of basically case histories, and they created a path for them, a story, and they chose characters to portray. They weren't all exactly as they were in the book, and so our characters are to some extent composites, but we have a different take on the book than the film did. We frame it in the tale of Sleeping Beauty, because Oliver would refer to the patients as sleeping beauties, and that whole notion of awakening after a long sleep, so it was irresistible to do. And so it begins with the tale, the core is telling the tale of Sleeping Beauty based on the Grimm's version. Not Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
A lot more severe.
Right. I don't know. I don't recall that Grimm's, but I do know, like, Cinderella, they cut their toes off, or, there's definitely. So
yeah, we could do a whole podcast on that, but I mean Sleeping Beauty it wasn't just Sleeping Beauty who was, the curse was put on for 100 years, that to sleep for 100 years. It was everything in the castle, the king and the queen, the fire in the on the stove, the flies on the wall, everything was frozen in time for 100 years. It's all metaphorical, and it's kind of we have a very poetic approach. There's also a subplot of three gay men, because Oliver Sacks came out when he was 82, just before he died, in his autobiography.
Oh,
wow. So late in life. I knew that he did come out. I didn't realize it was that late. Wow.
Yes, the year he died, and in the autobiography On the Move. So we included the Oliver that I knew. I mean, he was in the closet though until then, officially, and certainly when they made the film 30 years ago. So it's really more true to who he was, and we included the story about how his mother shamed him for being gay when he'd just gotten into Oxford, and terrible things to him. And so it's true to life. And one of the patients, Leonard, in our version, is gay. When he wakes up, he doesn't have heterosexual impulses that he wants to, that he's been frustrated he couldn't enact his whole life. He's attracted to Nurse Rodriguez, who's a male nurse.
Wow.
And Very attracted, and he's been very attracted for years, but unable to do anything about it. And then he can walk and talk, and he wants Nurse Rodriguez, but Nurse Rodriguez doesn't see him that way. He sees him as a patient, and that's it. And Nurse Rodriguez is kind of in love with Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Sachs is oblivious at that point in his life. In 1969, he was oblivious. And but in the end, Rodriguez tells him, you did such a wonderful thing for these patients, awakening them to life again, and I saw you. They're happy in their happy moments. You awaken too. So he has an awakening also
himself. Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh. Now, you are more than welcome to tell us as much or as little as you'd like. Just prefacing that with my next question. I am just so curious to know about your relationship with Oliver Sacks, or how did you meet him? When did you meet him?
We met in the early 90s.
Okay.
Through a mutual friend. Two mutual friends. One of them, the first opera I wrote was based on a novel by Judith Roster, who wrote Looking for Mr. Goodbar, which was a very famous film in the 70s. She wrote many books, but I based my first opera on one of her books called Emmeline, and we became very close friends. And I wanted to meet Oliver Sacks because I was diagnosed very late. They didn't know when I was a kid. Nobody knew what Tourette's was, even in my 20s.
Right.
So a neurologist told me, yes, you have Tourette's. And so I wanted to meet him and talk about my Tourette's with him. And we were introduced by a mutual friend of theirs who was the model for Robert De Niro in the movie Awakening, and that's how I met him. We gave a little dinner party, and he came.
Oh, wow.
And we became very good friends. He came to my operas all over, and he became very interested and enamored of my music, and I admired his writing, and he made me feel it was okay to have Tourette's, which was something that was very hard to grow up with, and is today still, but even harder then because nobody knew what it was. So I was shamed constant on a daily basis, and thought, and it was very damaging. So he helped take away some of that pain, and I really loved him. He was a great man and a great humanist, and an artist too, a great physician and observer of phenomena, neurological phenomena. But his art, the way he wrote, was so artful. I used to tell him, "You're an artist," and he would say, "No." He was very shy and self-effacing, and but he was, and I saw the art in his writing spoke to me, and I wanted to do something musically with it, and for a long time. And he suggested making Awakenings into an opera for about over 20 years ago.
Wow.
And,
oh my gosh!
So it was a long journey. First, I made it into a ballet that was commissioned
I read that.
London, and then this opera is completely unrelated to the music in the ballet, and so we in a way I merged him with my music. I wanted to put him together with my music, because my music was the way that I could show the world that I had something of value to offer the world, and I had something to say and to give the world, and that I wasn't just this monster that I saw myself as, and other children are very cruel, and someone when a child is different. And then again, in those days, nobody knew what it was.
Yeah.
And so merging him and bringing him back to life as it were, in an opera, was uh, was just a privilege. And Jared Porter, who plays the role of Oliver Sacks, really studied him. He's very young, so he didn't know him. He it's as if he knew him, because he channels him, and people who knew Oliver are astonished by
Wow.
how it's like. It really is like Oliver comes back to life in my music, and Arya's stunning libretto. Arya knew him too, so but I used to spend as much time with him as I could. We'd go out to dinner and stuff, and
Yeah.
talk to him, and he was one of the most he was an original. He was completely unique.
Yeah. As a lot of, well, and as you said, he may not have necessarily characterized himself as an artist, but as a lot of artists are too, right? Creatives and types.
He was very creative.
Yeah.
And even in his writings about neurological phenomena and people, he was very creative the way he described their conditions.
Well, when you put it like that, I feel that when it comes to people who are neurodivergent or that are wired differently in the neurology of the brain, it allows for a different synapse and creative process that we don't see in those that might be more neurotypical. And so you're speaking a lot to those references, in this case, Tourette's, but just for relatability, I'm also autistic and nonverbal. And so when you're speaking about creativity, self-expression, there's a lot to be said about that. And adding on to what you were just saying, what was the first time in your life as a child, as a teenager, or even before that, when you realized you had an artistic self-expression? Where did that root come from? What inspired what you were doing today? How did that start?
I think it was, to some extent, it was hereditary in my genes, and my cultural Jewish genes. And my grandfather played the violin and the piano. My grandmother, everybody played the piano in the in the old days. Having a piano, was something that just, it was part of the, you had a sofa, you had a piano, people played the piano.
Yeah.
So, but it was an artistic family, and musical, and my parents were interested in music and art and literature. That was their religion. We were Jewish, but they were. I grew up. It was environmental. I think the influence on the spark that ignited the flame of my creativity. And what they exposed me to art and music at a very early age. So, that was what I knew. I knew the first music I knew was Kurt Weill.
And I heard that, and you started composing when you were like 8 or something like that, correct? Yeah, that's incredible. What were you composing at 8 years old?
Piano pieces.
Yeah.
Guys on the piano, and
yeah.
I'd have concerts in the house, and I made programs for everyone. My sister and brother, I think, were forced to sit there too.
That's so cute.
But it was my brother's an artist. My sister and brother are also artists. My mother was a fashion designer and an artist, a great painter.
Oh, wow.
So when they would go on vacation, my sister also was a playwright, and she gave that up for painting, but she was very interested in theater when she was young, and she organized a show so that we would put on for them when they returned from vacation, and we would perform numbers from different shows, but it was all structured according to her plans.
It's really cute.
Yeah, I sang. They came back from Nova Scotia or somewhere once, and I remember I was maybe 6, and I sang Casper's aria from Among the Night Visitors about this is my box, and the last four licorice. I enjoyed doing that. She played the violin. It was art. It was an artistic environment, and it was encouraged, and appreciated. I really have to. I attribute it to my family's.
Yeah. It sounds like if you started at such a young age, have you ever done anything else, or has this pretty much been your life? Has been composing, has been music, has been.
Have I done anything else?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like it just sounds like it's kind of, I guess my point is as well is maybe it's more and more rare these days that somebody chooses something or is attracted to something at such a young age and it sticks, and I think that's becoming rare, more and more rare.
Anything else?
Yeah.
There wasn't any. I was interested in other things, but that was what I knew I had to do.
It's amazing.
From the time my mother took me to a Leonard Bernstein young people's concert when I was 9. So when I was at the New York Philharmonic as a little child, I felt like this is my world. This was where I belonged. I felt at home, and the feeling of frustration that I had to leave. I couldn't stay. I just wanted to stay there.
It's sort of, and
I found my way back into the symphony world, the chamber music world, and the opera world.
Yeah. And it sounds like, because you're talking about communication and not knowing what Tourette's was, it sounds to me almost like the expression of music. I mean, that's because there's different ways of speaking. I feel like that's maybe that was your way of speaking, and thank God for that, right? Before maybe discovering more about Tourette's, perhaps.
The music was
your way of speking, really, and communicating, I guess. Yeah.
It was,
or is.
It is. I can say more through my music than I can say in any other way.
Right.
It communicates on a deeper level than my words.
Yeah.
It goes into people's beings.
Absolutely.
Would you say that you have a core message that you like to always ensure that you're hoping to leave with other people when they hear your music, they hear your composition, they hear your work? Is there a thread or a through line that you like to plant and seed?
You mean a common through line?
Yeah.
I think I would say that there's a recurring theme of social justice in my work. Strong one in every single opera. And human rights. so, and I guess social commentary too, in terms of a political thread or thematic, a non-musical thread going through it all. And but I it's hard for me to be the critic that describes my body of work.
Yeah, I get that.
I think the through line is, well, if you look at my work, there's a lot of criticism of commonly accepted, of things that society does to people who have no way of defending themselves, especially American society.
Yes.
I did write one French opera, Thérèse Raquin, but that also would describe that.
May I ask what made you so passionate about that you wanted it to become like a through something that was kind of
I didn't really
apparent?
plan that way. Just every
No.
subject I'm drawn to can be connected in retrospect, because it's just the predilection that I have. And again, I probably was influenced by my parents in that respect, because my father in the 30s and 40s, and my mother too. They cared about people who were less fortunate than them, and did not like what society was doing to them when it does it to them, and I don't either. So
yeah. Now is that due to them being Jewish? I'm guessing just their is that due to them being Jewish? Was that from their experiences of that? Because
perhaps I think the strong connection between, well, our people, we've been persecuted for thousands of years,
right?
And we were slaves,
right?
And so that's why in the 40s, 50s, early 60s, there was a strong bond between Jews and the civil rights movement.
Yes.
And a closeness and identity and a commonality of purpose, which I would like to see us get back to, because racism, we are also victims of racism, not because we're Black, but we are Semites, and we are Jews, and people, the American people and the American government did not want the European Jews to come here when they were being exterminated by Hitler. It was like, just, we shouldn't interfere, let them, so I still believe in the goodness of Americans and of the country, but we've done some terrible things to people, and Hitler modeled the Nuremberg laws on the Jim Crow laws. He looked at America as a model.
Yeah.
So we do have a lot in common. So anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too political here, and where Awakenings is not a political
No, but it's good to just know we just like to get a little, obviously not just a little, but deeper with our guests and really, find out what makes them tick. And then therefore there's a lot of those common threads as to why you choose the projects you choose, on a much deeper level, obviously. And also just the commonality between the three of us too, right? And, Hero and I are both grandchildren of Holocaust survivors. So we do talk about that sometimes in the show, and just how that plays a part in our lives with intergenerational trauma, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's a very real thing. And with mental health,
Mhm.
right? So, yeah.
Actually, and it wasn't very long ago, the Holocaust.
I know. Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Right after,
Crazy.
I was born 9 years after it ended. So that's
Right.
not, and my
No.
sister was born the last year in 1945.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah.
So my mother's family lived in Berlin until 1933. They left. My grandfather saw he went to a Hitler rally, and he thought, this is not a place for a rabbi's son anymore to live.
Wow.
And he also saw that Einstein left in 32, and he worshipped Einstein. He thought, Einstein, he knows, he's
Right.
they got out. It wasn't, they had some difficulties, but they got out early. But
Yeah.
it was getting bad. But they were very,
Yeah, that the foresight. Yeah, they felt something and went with that. That is amazing, actually. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, back to awakenings, because we'll kind of, as we, start to close our conversation, we do want to have you talk a bit more about it. And maybe, I know that there's a premiere happening in Boston, but where do you plan on moving it from there?
We hope that other opera companies around the country are going to be interested in taking it. This is the second time it was premiered in St. Louis in June, and now it's the East Coast premiere. So we have faith that other companies will see the merit in doing it, because it's it's so moving, and it really is a timeless piece, and timely, actually. And it's about people awakening from a pandemic, and
yes,
that's what we're doing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Very much so.
Yeah,
there are parallels.
Absolutely. And also when you talk about the threads of the LGBTQ plus, storyline there too, right? So that's also very timely, I think, too, perhaps.
Yes, it's I had not had any gay characters in my operas before.
Oh, wow.
I want to address that. Our new opera is called Lily Elba, and it's based on one of the first transgender affirmation surgery people, who was a painter named Lily Elba, and they made a movie about her called The Danish Girl.
Yes, I saw that. That was amazing, with Eddie Redmayne. Is that one? Yeah, yes.
I wrote this opera with Shia Lucas, who's a great transgender female baritone, great opera singer. So it's written for her to play Lily Elba, and that will premiere in Switzerland later this year.
Wow.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Okay, so that just answered my question as to what's coming next for you.
It's the first trans opera. It's the first grand opera about a trans person composed for a trans opera singer.
Wow.
that's insane and so needed. And I hope it's only the beginning of that kind of movement for the representation and the diversity, the
But more and
exposure
more
for that.
trans opera singers coming out. She's a very vocal advocate.
Oh,
You could look her up, Lucia Lucas. There's actually a film about her. I was in. I ran an opera company in Tulsa for 6 years, and I brought her there for her American debut, and she was the first trans woman to ever sing on the operatic stage in America. She's profound, presenting both masculine and feminine in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And
wow. That's amazing.
so yeah, they did it. Some filmmakers made a film called The Sound of Identity, and it's won a lot of awards. And it's been
That's
presented
familiar.
on every continent on the planet now.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for all that you're doing, not just for the creative community, but for humanity. It sounds like so. No,
Thanks.
I'm serious. I mean, it might. Yeah, I know that sounds grandiose, but it's
My small way, I'm trying
yeah,
to do what I feel is my responsibility, and as a good human being, as a good Jew.
Right.
yes,
Right.
absolutely.
One thing that I'm curious to ask as well is you've spoken to some of these, so maybe it might be a repeat of an answer, but maybe there's something different. What are you hopeful or hope to leave, if you haven't already? What do you wish to leave society and humanity with as a composer, as an artist? What do you want people to remember you by in the work you've done or the work you are in the process of continuing to do?
What do I want to be remembered for?
And that can also mean in work that you've already completed and that you've brought out the intentions that you wanted to do, hopefully for people to receive different pieces of work you've done.
I I'd like my music to survive me, and I don't to be remembered myself. I want the music to be remembered and carried forward, and I want it to continue to move people's hearts and minds, and I want it's the power of that, of the music and these subjects to continue to reach people, reach into their souls.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Beautiful.
that is well said. Is there anything else you want to leave people with other than that? I mean, that was pretty good.
Well, I think that the one of the lessons of awakenings is that everyone is grappling with something. I think it's very important that we all realize that everyone is grappling with some issue or another, some problem or another, that they're responsible, that they didn't bring on themselves. Of course, we do bring on some of our own problems, but we make mistakes. But everyone's grappling with something that life dealt them as a challenge that they have to that we have to overcome and find a reason to go on, and happiness in life, even with affliction, even with adversity, and even with being different, because I think everybody is different and has different issues and problems. Everyone eventually suffers.
Yes.
And everyone eventually at some point knows happiness and joy. These people in awakenings, they knew it, and they're also a metaphor for life. They came to life, and then they went back. But we come to life, and then we go back into the great cycle of life.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go. I need to go and actually read Oliver Sacks's. Would you call it a memoir, or not really a memoir? I guess it's more like case studies, sort of.
The case studies, but
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
part of it because he was performing these. He was experimenting to get the best
yeah,
result, to awaken the people. It's
yeah.
not really autobiographical. The autobiography was written in 2015, and it's called On the Move.
Okay.
That was
I need to
just
do some
like,
more reading. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's my homework for sure. I can't wait until you perhaps premiere something on the West Coast, and even if it's in the States, even if it's in California, I might come down that direction.
there have been many premieres in California, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
Mhm.
3 of my operas were premiered in San Diego, San Francisco, LA.
Yeah.
So, but it's been a while.
Or
I would love
Canada.
Canada. I've never had a premiere.
No.
No, no.
Yeah.
Not very many American composers get done in Canada, because Canadians are very good about taking care of composers.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's interesting. Well, I'm going to keep following you. So I just very much thank you for your time,
Mhm.
Thank you very much
Tobias.
for having me. Enjoyed
And
talking with you.
yeah, it's been such a pleasure. And thank you for joining us, even though you're kind of on the road. Hope you have a good sleep.
Mhm.
It's not
Yeah, get
that
some
late.
rest.
It's only 10:30.
It's all good. We really do appreciate your time and your vulnerable sharing, and we look forward to seeing the continuation of your projects and your continued success.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Great meeting you both. Hope to
you as
meet
well.
You too.
soon.
Take care now.
I would love that. Yes.
Come
Have a
to
wonderful.
Boston to awaken. Come
Sorry,
to
say that
Boston.
again.
Come to Boston and see awakenings.
Oh,
I've
yes,
always wanted to go
yes.
to Boston.
Oh
So
my gosh. If I had I don't know, somebody I knew, a husband like who was a pilot for, just jump on the next plane as a buddy pass, like a free pass,
yeah.
just to fly down there whenever I want. I've never been to Boston, but that's another story. One day. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, folks, go see Awakenings if you can. I'm going to get this out prior to the premiere, and all the best, Tobias. Thank you again.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Niro.
You're welcome. Thanks so much, Tobias.
See you later.
You too.
Bye.